I'm now going to be covering a really exciting topic, tracking. Whee! Yes, I understand it's a very exciting topic, but you have to take something into consideration. You're spending in your practices upward $60,000 annually to bring people in your front door through phone inquiries, through emails, through other formats. And if you're not tracking them to see what the results are, why put forth the effort at all? So therefore, you have to know what's happening. That's very tedious, but it needs to be done. Uh, as we discussed before with our team, here's our core team for PUMC. Each individual within this team knows exactly what their responsibilities are because they understand that they are part of tracking. And if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then it's not going to work for everyone. And that's what everyone in your organization needs to understand, that they have some responsibility in tracking. So we're talking about email inquiries and phone inquiries. Those are the two issues that we're going to be covering today. What are the objectives of this presentation? Number one, identify the mistakes most practices make with the solutions to the mistakes. No need in telling you what you do wrong if we don't give you some recommendations on how to be more effective. So that's what I will be covering. Identify effective tracking systems to use. There are multiple tracking systems out there. Some of them smoothly integrate into your EMR system, some don't. But because there are still reasons why you need to consider different tracking systems, you need to analyze and determine what's going to work for you. Review methods for data analysis that gets the results. Now, you're not accountants. I do have an accounting degree, and I get really excited about data analysis. But what you need to do is be able to accept minimal data that you need to be able to get the results that you're looking forward. And the next thing is methods for follow-up. If you've ever been in any of my sessions, you know that those are keywords for me. Follow up, follow up, follow up. It is mandatory that you don't lose any prospects or leads that have come into your practice. So let's start with tracking mistake number one. No one assigned to the responsibility. Wow, a very obvious thing, but in many practices, there is no one responsible for it. And then the question is, have you established your goals for tracking? What is the time frame? What do I mean by time frame? That means that if you send out an e-blast, did you expect to get the majority of your responses within a day? Or is this a special that you have running for the entire month? So you have an expiration date, so people have an opportunity to check on this or test it out even on the day before the end of the expiration. Even after the expiration date. And if someone calls you a week after the expiration date and wants to take advantage of a special, what are you going to do? You're going to say, yes, we're going to give you special dispensation. You will get that special offer also. Let's face it, the goal is to try to bring in people that are interested in taking advantage of what you have to offer. What are the steps to assess your tracking? Do you know what to do? And who is spot checking it? I had a situation where a client was using individual pieces of paper that she would fill out, that the receptionist would fill out and answer specific questions and then hold on to them. The goal was at the end of the day, she was supposed to add up the information. At the end of the week, she was supposed to add it up. And then at the end of the month, they were supposed to tally it. Problem was, no one was coming to her. So when I came in to visit the practice, I said, how's your tracking going? She opened up this drawer and showed me all of these papers. And I said, well, what's happening to them? She says, nothing. No one ever asked me about them. So I said, so what are you doing now? She says, nothing. So in other words, she's no longer tracking because no one was following up and spot checking her. So she lost interest. What is the solution to mistake number one? It should be someone's job description. Remember those words, job description. This means you have to write it down specifically. What is this person's responsibility? And the person needs to be trained. There are many reporting systems out there, but someone has to understand how to work them. If you're going to track, you need to know what to do. And then there need to be benchmarks for the tracking so that the person that is in charge of it has some understanding of what is the next steps. Tracking mistake number 2, no system for tracking. Do you know what you will be tracking? Will you be tracking phone calls? Will you be tracking email inquiries? Will you be tracking the amount of people that don't follow up with you? What are the things that you're going to be tracking? And then how are you going to track? Are you going to use the picket fence system? It's, hey, 1, 2, 3. Well, if you can count to 5, you got it made because you'll just 5, 10, 15, 20. It's a manual system. It ain't work. So it works. So why it's not broke? You may want to just use that to initiate. But you can have an automated system that does all of the tracking information for you. But then you got to be able to look at it and know what's happening with it. So, solution for mistake number 2, selecting a system. What are you getting with the tracking? Do you know where the calls came from? Do you know which page of your website the email comes from? Because there may be specific things that are being offered or said within certain pages. So you have a mechanism to be able to tell if the email came from the non-surgical or if it came from a surgical or if it came from a special. Was it a click-through? So an e-blast that you did about cool sculpting, then that moved on to the cool sculpting page. Was that where it was? Or was it something that was very specific and they responded specifically for that cool sculpting special? Is it tied to your present website, or do you need to set up other sources, i.e., Real Self? Are you getting for that Facebook, other formats that you're using, your AdWords? Are those where you're getting your tracking from? So you need to have sources to be able to capture that. Are you able to monitor the results at all times? Can you come along and check and see how many calls have we had? How many emails came in within the last hour? The e-blast went out at midnight. How many calls and how many clicks did we get before 10 o'clock in the morning? That's real time. What is your commitment to the usage of the system? We spend a lot of time and a lot of money and we have everybody's trained. Then if it's not working, then you'll stop using it. So are you committed to using the system because you have invested in it? You've invested time, you've invested staff time. Are you committed? Tracking mistake number 3, no or inadequate follow-up. What is your plan for follow-up? You get this information, you get these inquiries in, and then what are you going to do with them? Do you know the results of the inquiries? This is very important. Here we have the solution for mistake number 3. Call the prospect. Yes, pick up the telephone. There's no nothing that takes the place of a communication, my mouth to their ears, so that they can know exactly who you are and what you care about their interests. Remember, it wasn't a body hook that brought them in. They showed a genuine interest. So if they did not follow through, you need to follow up and follow up, find out why they didn't follow through. Re-email the prospect with an invitation to a seminar, special offer, or consultation. Place the prospect on a segmented e-blast list. This is a very important issue. PUMC stressed that you need to have segmented e-blasts. You have 9,000 names, 10,000 names, 20,000 names, and you send an e-blast out to all of them. But everyone doesn't care about the same thing in whatever that special is. So therefore, you need to have a segmented list for those people that are interested in facial procedures, those people that are interested in non-surgical procedures at this time, so that you're not sending them something for a facelift when you know that they specifically are looking for microneedling or for micro dermabrasion or for some sort of a filler. So why send them information about a facelift? Give them information on the things that they show interest in and then move them up the ladder over time. Attempt to determine the reason why the prospect didn't pursue, because there may have been some very specific things. It could have been timing. It could have been just that specific offer. So you need to keep those things in mind. Here's an example of a good email response. Remember, if an individual emails an inquiry, they're asking questions, you know what you need to do? You got to answer the question. If that is, how much does this procedure or service cost? You must answer that in your email. Now, you don't have to give specifics, but you want to give some ranges, and then invite them to come in to find out if they're a candidate for the procedure. You want to make them aware that if they came from an inquiry on your website, although you may have some excellent before and after photos, make them aware that you have other photos that you would be able to show them if they come in. So invite them to come in. Also, you may have a special that you're about to offer or about to announce, i.e., they called you on October the 28th. But you know, on November the 1st, you're going to have another special offer. Mention that in an email to them because this may be the very thing that causes them to act. Tracking mistake number 4, no data analysis. Now, as I said, you're not accounting majors, but there is a certain amount of analysis that is mandatory, or you might as well not even collect the data. You need to look at it and adjust responses and campaigns based on what you see. Do you know the number and types of emails, the results, phone call results? These are the questions you need to get answered, and you answer them by analyzing the data. If you're doing Eblasts, you have results from those major e-companies. Most of the Eblast companies today, and I admonish you, never send out e-blast on any kind of a personal email. And when I say personal email, that's even an email that is connected to your website. Your e-blast should be coming from companies like iContact, Constant Contact, MailChimp. These are companies that are set up to rid you of spam issues and be able to protect you when you're sending out your messages. And they also know certain words and things that should not be part of your message so that your message gets where it needs to go. But they also provide some excellent reporting systems. Now, you don't need to have everything that they provide, but you need to look at their reporting systems and take advantage of them. Tracking the calls to the offer, that is from the phone calls that come in and finding out where those calls came from. And then a last thing, ask patients when they call. You know, what was it that caused them to call specifically if they don't mention it? Now, I used to say that when I train, Lou says be sure to find out what caused them to investigate this procedure at this particular time. But if they say, I called because I saw your ad for the Mother's Day special, then you don't have to go back and ask that question. You already have the answer. Then you can move forward with your conversation. So you obviously have to listen to what the patient is saying when they're calling in. So if you are doing eBlast, you have results, so no excuse. If you're tracking the calls to the offer, you have no excuse in asking the patients. These are all key things that you need to do. Now, here we have an analysis with results. On the left-hand side, we have the information from eBlast, that information that has come in through, I think it was either Constant Contact or iContact, that indicated specifically what was the special or the offer that was made, the message that was sent, and then how many people it went to, how many people opened it, what was the open rate, and how many people unsubscribed. Now, you'll see there on the left-hand side, you have what we call the email count because this was an e-blast. And so we were following the e-blast with the email count. You can see that in the month of March, because at the bottom that represents the months of the year, very, very low email inquiries. So you want to look over to your report on the left to see, well, what was your message at that time? Because that may not have been the right message, or it may have been not the good message, wrong timing, time of the year, might have been quite a few things. But then, my gosh, in June, we have triple, almost quadruple responses. This is fantastic. This means that whatever your message was in June, it was the right message for the right timing. Now we look over there and we see it was cool sculpting. So cool sculpting, and it was both in English and in Spanish. So here we are in June, just getting ready to start putting on the bathing suits. It's a non-surgical procedure that you could begin to show results rather quickly, and the people responded in mass. So what does this mean to you? It means that maybe you want to do your cool sculpting specials in for sure in June and maybe one or two other times during the course of the year. Then you want to look back. What was your message in March that didn't cause for the positive response that you were looking for? Does this mean that you want to get rid of it? Maybe you just need to reanalyze the message itself and determine if there was something that wasn't as engaging as you desired. Now here we have data analysis as showing this to you again so that you can begin to see that the open rate in January was 9.5, but then the open rate in June was 16%. It moved up. And those are the kind of things that you're looking at. So this is just a broad, a clearer picture of the left-hand side of that previous report. Okay, it's important that the analysis is done by you. You can hire outside organizations to prepare the information, but you need to be prepared to sit down and review it yourself because there are certain specific things that only you as an organization can do. Did you achieve your goal? Now, what was your goal? That's the first thing. Was your goal to bring in leads? Was your goal to immediately close, i.e., what we call small ticket items, i.e., fillers, Botox? Those are the kind of things where theoretically the person, if this special is good enough, they will immediately jump on it. We have some clients that every October they do a Botox special. I got it? Botox. Okay. Every year we do the same thing, and every year you get results because it's set up so that the person comes in, if they bring a friend, theirs is half off. And they don't just necessarily wait for that, but it's something that they know works. And the goal is to close those immediately. But maybe your goal is to just generate leads, individuals that are interested in having a body procedure but need to come in and determine if they're a good candidate. So that may be your goal. So getting a lot of leads, although you didn't have any closes initially, that could still be a positive analysis result. Did you discover things to help you in the future? Knowing your timing, very important, determining that. Did you get the positive return on investment? I said it's return on results. Did you close? Did you convert? Those are the kinds of things. And then you want to secure the advice from the internet service organizations because these consultants that are here, they're out there that they're seeing other practices similar to yours, and they may have some things that they can help you with. So you want to take advantage of whatever the trends are. Also, the companies, i.e., the Cool Sculpting, well, that's Allergan now, but other companies, they can tell you certain things that they're finding. So you want to take advantage of those trends. Now, here's an example of an email tracking system. Now, we've taken some of the information off just for protection of the individuals. But the first thing, you have the name, and then you have the email address. And then over to the far right, you indicate the date that the person initially opened it. And then this particular person opened it multiple times. Now, why would a person open an email multiple times? Many different reasons. One, I opened it, I didn't have time to completely read it, so I closed it, but I'm going to come back to it. I do that often with specials. The other is I opened it and then I moved on and then I accidentally opened it again or accidentally opened it again. Now, of course, if you're using any of the major e-blast companies, you will not have duplication because that's one of the major things that they're good about is avoiding duplication unless the individual's email address is different going to the same person. Now, there's no way that you can determine that. But as if you have the same first and last name and the email address, it'll only go to one person. You'll never have that multiple. And when you request, if they request to be unsubscribed, it immediately is gone. It is taken off and that will never be there again so that you don't have that annoyance. But then you have some people that opened it one or two times. Now, what you can also do is from this, you see, okay, I have a group of individuals that always open my eBlast and they open them once or twice. So I'm going to put them in a segmented list because I'm going to send them specials. Whereas there's some people that don't open, so I'm going to move them off of that list and just have them in some other kind of thing. So this analysis is what tells you what you want to do as far as how you're going to handle it. Now, this is a phone tracking system report that I'm looking at. And this was set up for AdWords. This particular one had gynecology and then breast reduction. These were two of the campaigns. And then you have your phone number. You have where they came from. You have how long the call was. Now, these calls are all being recorded, so you can go back and you can determine to listen to them. And then the other thing is, these are coming from mobile or desktop. In this age, mobile is becoming much more prevalent. People are looking for your website on their phones. They're no longer sitting at their desk all the time. And so they just take their thumb and they click and they're calling you immediately. So you need to be able to respond and be able to handle the calls. But this also gives you information so that you can see, out of all of the calls that we got from July 1st to July 8th, there were more mobile than there were desktop. That gives you some information about when you're sending out your messages. Is it more geared toward a mobile format? Here's another mobile report that gives you some additional information, gives you where people are coming from. And if you can see at the top, you can see some trends as to when people are calling in so that you have an idea. And these are based on the campaigns. This particular one was a Mother's Day special campaign. And how much did you get back in the first call? You can even determine that. So in summary, what you have to do is assign the responsibility. If no one is responsible for it, it's not going to get done. And the individual has to be trained. It's not just sit down here and start counting. You need to train them so that they can determine what they're capturing and know what to do with what they're capturing. You want to select your system for tracking. There are various systems out there, as I've indicated. Do you want one that is easily integrated into your EMR system? Do you feel like you want to keep things separate because you want to be able to control? I was talking to a vendor who said some doctors just like to not have everything all in one basket. That's not a bad thought process. So if something goes down, they still have their information. Develop adequate follow up. If you can't do anything else, if you can say, I followed up, I can tell you specifically what happened with each one of these lead calls and whether they converted or that they want to stay on the mailing list. These are all pieces of information that you want to keep. And then you want to analyze the data so that you can get the best results. Analyze it on a routine basis and then go back at the end of your campaign. And we recommend that you have at least 3 to 5 months ahead of time so you have your plans. Now, things come up. A company will have some special, or you have a little extra of your fillers and you'd like to get rid of them. Um, so you may have some kind of a special in the month, in the middle of the month offer, but you want to have your campaign set up so that you are getting and you're using your analysis to get your campaign set up. And lastly, you want to check trends to determine what the rest of the world is doing because you're not in a bubble and you need to know what's happening outside. So in conclusion, invest the time to develop strategies, programs, and review your results and adjust, and it will pay off. Thank you very much. If you have additional questions, I can be reached at pumclh@pumc.com. Thank you.